and 314 for a shooting at Century Theaters, 14300 East Alameda Avenue. They're saying somebody's shooting in the auditorium.
Once again, the nation is mourning a real-life nightmare. This time, it was at the movies, a place we go to escape reality, to revel in the impossible, where instead the impossible came true.
315 and 314, there is at least one person that's been shot, but they're saying there's hundreds of people just running around.
12 dead, 58 wounded. One of the worst mass shootings in American history. This morning, the theater outside Denver, Colorado, just 20 miles from Columbine High School, the site of another devastating massacre in 1999, remains a crime scene. Impromptu memorials have sprung up, and for people like Cecilia Alexander and her friends, it's all just starting to sink in.
The people who died, they're very loved, and that a lot of people have been hurt by this.
The suspect, 24-year-old James Egan Holmes, is not talking much to police. If there's a motive, he's not saying.
I don't want to get into his head in terms of what he was planning. We have the evidence of a deliberative process to commit this assault.
And getting answers from his home has been stalled by booby traps. A tangle of tripwires and homemade hand grenades were rigged to explode. Serious stuff, say investigators, designed to kill and maim. A controlled detonation rumbled through the neighborhood as the painstaking process continued, investigators negotiating a deadly maze in hopes of preserving whatever evidence is inside.
I was able to reach a police officer and talk to him, and he got me to the hospital.
Some of the 58 wounded have now been sent home. Others remain hospitalized with shrapnel and gunshot wounds. For a few patients, says trauma surgeon Dr. Bob Snyder, the nightmare will never be erased.
Some of the injuries that we're dealing with and the patients are dealing with right now are going to be permanent.
They were easy targets for a man, it seemed, who was bent on doing as much damage as he possibly could. An attack police say that was diabolically detailed in its planning. It all started late Thursday night as moviegoers waited to see the midnight premiere of the most anticipated movie of the summer, the latest Batman saga, The Dark Knight Rises. Police say Holmes bought a ticket, like the rest of the patrons, and sat near the front. Not long after the previews ended, the nightmare began. Witnesses say they noticed someone get up and walk out, using the emergency exit.
I noticed a guy who's sitting to the far right has a phone call. He steps out to the emergency exit, which is unusual.
Just outside that door, Holmes had parked his car, where police say he had stashed an arsenal, 6,000 rounds of ammunition, and 4 guns, 3 of which he used in the shooting. The suspect covered himself head to toe in body armor, including a gas mask, and went back into the theater through the propped open door. Witnesses say he threw 1, maybe 2 canisters into the audience. They exploded in a puff of smoke or gas. And then came the bullets and buckshot. Joshua Nolan dove beneath a seat, but a bullet still found his arm and his leg. He considers himself lucky.
And I feel so sorry for the other families and all the other men and women that didn't make it. I just can't imagine someone's life being taken away like that.
Some hit the floor. Others tried to flee. In the dark, all Stephen Barton could see was the flash from the muzzle.
The wound was somewhere around here, and just a few millimeters in or centimeters in, and I don't think I would have left the theater.
Zach Golditch wasn't even in the theater. He was in the one next door. Walls don't stop bullets. He was hit behind his ear.
I leaned over on my armrest a little bit, and, who knows where it would have went. I'm just grateful to be here.
When it was over, as silently as he started, the suspect returned to his car, where he seemed to wait calmly for police to take him into custody.
The suspect in a gas mask.
He didn't resist. He just surrendered. Police say he had no connection to terrorist groups. He didn't even have a record, just a single speeding ticket. That was it. He was, in the words of some, forgettable.
I mean, he was somebody you wouldn't even look at twice walking down the street. Very, very mellow.
Flags were ordered at half-staff, and President Obama announced plans to visit the scene later today. He says it hit the first family close to home.
My daughters go to the movies. What if Malia and Sasha had been at the theater, as so many of our kids do every day? Michelle and I will be fortunate enough to hug our girls a little tighter tonight, and I'm sure you will do the same with your children. But for those parents who may not be so lucky, we have to embrace them and let them know we will be there for them as a nation.
Governor Mitt Romney echoed the sentiment.
We'll all spend a little less time thinking about the worries of our day and more time wondering about how to help those who are in need of compassion most.
Soon, the faces of those killed and injured flashed across our TV screens, as well as that picture of the suspect. And then the conjecture started. Did he look mad? Did he look crazy? What was behind those eyes? How could he? Jordan Gawi didn't care about any of that. In fact, he won't even let the suspect's name cross his lips.
I want the rest of the victims, the dead and the wounded, to be remembered, and I don't want that gunman's name spoken.
Jordan's sister, Jessica, was one of those killed. Last month, Jessica had narrowly escaped another gunman's sights at a shopping mall in Toronto, Canada, where 7 people were shot. The list is as varied as you'd expect in a movie theater. The youngest was just 6 years old, Veronica Moser Sullivan. Alex Sullivan, no relation, died too, on his birthday, his 27th. Matt McQuinn saved his girlfriend, but not himself. And A.J. Bach had just graduated high school. Last night, his classmates released balloons in his memory. The sadness over all that loss, though, is in part turning to anger. It's renewed debate over the nation's gun control laws, much as the Columbine shooting did. But neither of the presidential candidates even mentioned the word gun during their remarks. The mayor of New York, however, Michael Bloomberg, did.
I think all of them have been cowed by a handful of advocates who think that the right to bear arms allows you to go out and kill people at random. And that's not overstating it very much.
Legislative changes may be far off, but already the experience of going to the movies has changed. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security issued warnings to be on the alert for potential copycats. And police in cities coast to coast upped their patrols at theaters showing The Dark Knight Rises. The inevitable questions will come about security, whether metal detectors should now accompany our popcorn. And the tragedy, like the others before it, Columbine, Virginia Tech, Tucson, will fill our newspapers and magazines for weeks. And this week, once again, comes another reminder that nowhere, it seems, is truly safe from those whose dark minds are bent on inflicting grief and horror.